It's the Arch Advocate Show. Welcome back, welcome back. It's a big weekend, everybody, and we are well into week number 2 of the John McCain death parade. Boy, are they milking this. I can't remember. Listen, name another senator, right? Now, granted, this isn't something that people really pay attention to. I certainly don't. I'm not saying that he didn't, but I do not remember Ted Kennedy having a week-long death party. You know what I mean? I hated Ted Kennedy, right? I've said this many times. Only the good Kennedys get murdered, right? It's Bobby and Johnny got murdered. The rest of the Kennedys are pieces of garbage, and I could get heavy into the Kennedys, right? How it is that they got to where they got, right? John Kennedy, who said some profoundly deep and spiritual and wonderful things, like I could even get up into his business, but I let me digress off of that point. The fact is like Ted Kennedy died. I don't remember there being even 2 funeral services, right? Ronald Reagan died. I don't remember there being, you know what I mean? I don't remember there being like this big, long, drawn out, like, oh, this is such a big deal. Like, you know what I mean? Like when a guy like Billy Graham dies, Billy Graham had a great many funerals, right? Because he was beloved. He was beloved. You know what I mean? Like he was one of those the rare spiritual leaders that never had an accusation raised against him. Now listen, you might be sitting there going, oh no, what about that thing with that woman in the hotel room? It's like, okay, that was Jimmy Swaggart. Oh, what about that thing with the money? It's like, no, that was Benny Hinn and Joel Osteen. You know what I mean? Like there's people out there that are like, oh, Billy Graham, like remember that time he was accused of the thing? No, you're thinking of somebody else. I hate to say these words because I become dangerously close to sounding like Chunk Hanger from the Young Turks, but it's like, Google it. Just Google Billy Graham's name and then type in scandal and you know, find what you find. And then you can write me and correct me. Take as long as you need. Right? Billy Graham was a beloved guy, had a lot of different funerals. What political leader, right? Was there a governor who died? Was there another senator who died? Another congressman or woman who died that had this long, drawn out, he was so beloved by the people. It's like, no, like John McCain was just another guy. And listen, I'm not going to, maybe he was beloved. Who knows? Who knows, right? I mean, for me, right? He just looked like another dude. Just another, political guy. Maybe he was beloved, but that's not what I want to get at. Like this is a very bizarre thing that I think that we need to take a look at together, right? Because again, look, these are very strange times, and we have to sort of, parse out what we can, try to figure out what's going on. Right now, I grew up. Most of you grew up at an end of a particular age. That, when you and I were all in high school, right? We were in middle school, then we went to high school, and then it was like, after high school, it's like we were either going to go off to college or we were going to go to work or whatever we were going to do. But in our time, right, back in those days, we had a very reasonable expectation that once we were done with high school, that the need for being cool, the need for being accepted, you know what I mean, based on how we dressed and the kind of music that we listened to, that period of life was going to be over, and we were going to graduate into adulthood where the only thing that made us cool or uncool was our work ethic and our ability to contribute to society, right? But we got hijacked, right? All of a sudden, because of something that happened in the mid-1960s, all of a sudden everybody could go to college and they could study nonsense things. And so all of a sudden, high school got extended. And that's why, like, when we all came out of high school, there was still this weird, bizarre high school thing going on around people where it's like, oh, you don't wear Hurley, you don't wear Guess. Remember that? Guess? You don't shop at the Gap, man, you're not cool. Right? Like, that's a thing that happened. Like, that wasn't the way it was just a generation before us. And it continues on. And so what can we learn from that? Right? This is kind of, you might say, well, like, wow, Pete, you really had to drive around that mountain to get to the other side. Here's the thing. What we can learn from what we are seeing right now with John McCain's death party is that when you see people that are close together like that, it's like when you were in high school, if you saw a bunch of dudes walking down the hall and they were all wearing Letterman jackets, you knew something about that particular group of people, didn't you? Right? Well, they all dress the same. They all have the same jackets on. They all have the same letter on their jackets. What does that mean? Well, it means that they are on the football team, or they're on the wrestling team, or they're on, the track team, or whatever. Like, you knew. It's like those people are those people, right? They are all together in purpose. They all think the same. They're probably going to bully you if you're not one of them, right? There's something that you could identify. Or if you saw, when you were in high school, if you saw a bunch of kids, dressed in black and had like, halfway haircuts, like half of their head was shaved and the other half was long, and they were all wearing Morrissey t-shirts, it's like, okay, those are the goths, right? Well, there's something that we know about those people. We know what kind of music they're into. We know, like, if we start talking to them, if they're going to be happy people or depressed people, you know what I mean? Like, we look at those people and be like, those are those people. Those are those people. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing right with that. It's just that's how it is. Those are those people. And we can see in this thing with McCain. Now, I made it clear months ago. This is before any of us knew that John McCain was knocking on heaven's door, which I don't believe that that's where he went, but I digress. We didn't know 2 months ago when I made that podcast saying John McCain is a traitor. That was the title of the podcast when I published it. John McCain is a traitor. So I am on record like this. I'm not just saying this because this is happening right now. Like, I have thought this for a long time. I think that guy was a traitor. And guess what? We can see what kind of person he is or was by the people that are even still to this day surrounding him. And who are they? They are all of the living presidents. All of them. Carter, Clinton, Bush, Obama. Those are the living presidents. Right? Carter, Reagan's dead. Oh, Bush Sr., I think he's still... Didn't he just die? Anyways, all of the living presidents, they were all at John McCain's funeral. So guess what? The fact that McCain, one of his dying declarations, one of the last things, he's about to die. He's getting his affairs in order. And what was one of the most important things that he needed to let people know before he went? That Donald Trump is not to be at my funeral. Right? So guess what? Like, this is what's funny to me. It's funny to me. We have been, as a people, as American people, both left and right, and conservative, and, progressives, and whoever, everybody, for as long as I can remember, has been shouting out, like, we need to tear down the establishment politics. We need to get rid of this because it's not working. We're $20 trillion in debt. We're getting involved in endless wars. We are screwing with the political nature of other nations. Right? Like, we have to get these legacy families and these never-ending Congress people, because there are no term limits. You can sit there for 50 years as a congressman. We need to get these ticks. That's what they are. They're ticks. They burrow into the skin and they don't come out. And then they cause Lyme disease. And they make the whole host organism sick. And everybody I could talk to, even if they were fans of George Bush, even if they were fans of Bill Clinton or Barack Obama, or Ted Kennedy or whatever, like even the fans of the people who were in charge, even those people were like, yeah, I like this guy, but ultimately we have to get outsiders in there. There's way too much insider stuff going on, and it is clear that these people are not working in the interest of the American people. They just keep running up debts and handing out money to people, you know what I mean? Like social welfare, for example, like Social Security and welfare and foster care and all these things. It's like, look, the idea of those things are good, but it's like there's people who just don't want to work, and so they say, well, I'll just take welfare. And it's like, dude, you're stealing from the people who can't work. You're stealing from the elderly. You're stealing from the orphan and from the widow. When you just decide, there's free money there, I'm just not going to work. And it's the politicians' fault for not building in oversight, not making a system that demands accountability. So it's like those are those people. And now we see that, like John McCain, he was surrounded by, those people. He's one of those people. And if it's one thing that I don't think that he saw coming, these people have been sitting, President Bush, right, who I voted for in the second term. Sorry about that, everybody. But President Bush was saying, he was alluding to or intimating that Donald Trump is a dictator. Oh, really? That guy's a dictator. Is that because he just nationalized the press so that he could control free speech? Is that why he's a dictator? Is it because he prosecuted and jailed so many journalists? Oh, that's right. That was Obama who did that. Right? Is it because all the horrible things that are happening down on the border? Oh, that's right. That happened because of Obama and Clinton and Bush policies. Those policies are in place. And when people say like, oh, why do you got to bring up old stuff? It's because that's how it works. That's why we have to bring up old stuff. The reason why we have to bring up Bill Clinton is because he put policies in place that are still working to this day. Or should I say not working or failing, right? These people that we've put in office, like McCain, like Bush and Obama and Clinton and these people, they are those people. They're the people that are wearing the Letterman jacket, right? They are those people. And if it's one thing that the blowback that's happening because of this bizarre, even members of his own family, John McCain, his own daughter is politicizing his death. That's so bizarre. It's creepy, right? And that he was so entrenched into being one of them that his final declaration was to make it clear in the eyes of the American people that John McCain was part of the establishment and that Trump is now unquestionably not. Right? There's people on the right that are really like upset about this. It's like, no. As far as public relations goes, right? As far as imagery goes, nothing could have been better than this. John McCain's dying declaration and the people that have surrounded the dead corpse of John McCain in an effort to honor him have in so doing declared, we are the establishment people. We are the people who ran you up to $20 trillion in debt. We are the people who have been destroying the middle class. We are the people who have been subsidizing abortion and single parenthood. We are those people. We are the establishment people. And now it is clear that they have declared that Donald J. Trump is not one of them. You may not like a lot of things about Donald Trump. I don't. Yeah, I don't like everything that guy does. I don't. There's a number of things that I do like, but the number one thing that I like about Donald Trump is he's not one of them. He's not one of them. Right? Oh, fun fact here. Guess how many of the living U.S. presidents visited the aforementioned Billy Graham when he was on his death tour? Right now, Billy Graham was beloved by people all around the world. All around the world. Right? So, I mean, when a guy like that dies, it's like, yeah, I can see, there's a lot of people who love that guy. Guess how many presidents visited him or went to pay their respects when he died? One. And guess what his name was? Or is? Donald J. Trump. President Bush, Barack Hussein Obama, otherwise known as Barry Soetoro or Sotorino or whatever his last name is. Bill Clinton, the rapist. Jimmy Carter, the freaking communist. Right? Jimmy Carter is like famous for being a Christian. Didn't find it necessary to go pay his respects to Billy Graham. I think that's very telling about who Jimmy Carter is. And this is what we know now. That this is who those people are. Now, I've been saying this for years, and I know that you've been thinking it for years. It's like at a certain point, I don't know, maybe it was right after, George Bush signed the Patriot Act. When it sort of became clear to all of us, like, oh, it kind of looks like you're all working together. It kind of looks like you yourselves are engineering this sort of mentality in the American people of like, the team and the football team mentality, like, oh, I'm a Democrat, oh, I'm a Republican. Meanwhile, those people, they've all been working together the entire time. And they have made it their purpose to make it look like there was, the good guys and the bad guys. All the Democrats think the Republicans are bad guys, and all the Republicans think the Democrats are bad guys. By their engineering, right? Meanwhile, they've all been working together for prolonged wars, continued just blistering spending with money that we don't have, right? Further encouraging our nation's young people to get further and further into debt, right? It's all becoming, visually, it looks like it's all been orchestrated, right? Why do you have people that are $60,000 in debt with an art history degree? You know what I mean? Like, why would you do that? Why would you impress on the young people like, oh, if you just go to college for anything, just get a degree, man, and you'll make $1 million. That's what they say. That's what they literally say. They say, if you have a college degree, you will make on average $1 million more than your counterpart who does not. $1 million. I've made this point before, back when we really focused on, economics of money. $1 million, really? Not $947,897.37. $1 million even. That's a very even number. What's worse is that young people, they hear that and they're like, ooh, $1 million, wow. Some really respectable guy said those words, so it must be true. Duh. You know what I mean? I don't know what I'm more offended by. The gall on the part of politicians or the stupidity of the people to believe it. I don't know what I'm more offended by. I'm working on that. I'll be praying and meditating on that concept for quite a while. So what do we see? We see this long drawn out thing on the death of McCain. It's like, why? Was he so beloved that his funeral is taking over a week? Right? He has to be flown around on Air Force Two so that people can pay their respect. They loved him so much. These same people that were just calling that guy a racist. And now the left loves him. It's that's another thing I don't understand. Like when people, these leftists that are coming out like, oh, look at John McCain, what a wonderful man. It's like, you were just calling him a racist. You were just calling him a racist 10 years ago when he was running against Barack Obama. And now you love him? Don't you understand that we can see your inconsistency? You know what I mean? The only reason you love McCain now is because he hated Trump. And now you feel like you have some sort of common ground with him? Well, congratulations. You were right. He was a racist, and now you have common ground with a racist. What does that make you? Right? I don't believe he was a racist. I believe that was just something that the left people call him. But it's like that's what I would say to those people if they were kids. It's like, okay, you called him a racist in 2008. You called him a racist. So guess what? Now I agree with you. He was a racist, and you're on his side. Congratulations, you filthy racist. Painted yourself right into that corner, didn't you? That's what inconsistency breeds. That's why you have to be consistent. You know what I mean? You can be wrong, right? Like right now, I am a fan of Donald Trump. I do not believe that this whole Russian collusion thing, I don't believe that there was a big sinister plot to usurp the will of the American people. I don't believe that. Right? I am a fan of Donald Trump's policies. There are some things that I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan that the fact that he ran on the idea of building that wall and not a single brick has been laid yet. I'm not a fan of that. But let me get away from that. The fact is that if 5 years from now or 3 years from now or 10 years from now, if it turns out I was wrong, I will admit it. I'll say, man, I was wrong. I voted for George Bush. I was wrong. I was wrong to vote for George W. Bush. I can tell you what my reasoning was at the time, and I can tell you why it is that I was wrong. That over time, as things went on, as the information that I was gathering grew, I was later shown to have been wrong. Right? That's not inconsistent. You know what I mean? You have to be consistent. If it turns out that you were wrong, then great. Just say you were wrong. If it turns out that you were right, don't stand around and gloat about it. Just be consistent, because your consistency is going to come from your morals, what you believe. Right? These people, John McCain and all of his friends and his filthy whore daughter, these people said nothing about the fact that all three of the last U.S. presidents, each one of them doubled the national debt, and that's how we got to 20 trillion. Not a single one of them pointed that out. Not one. So are these people working in the interest of the American people, or are they doing something foolish? So foolish that one could call it evil. That's who those people are. That's who was huddled around the dead body of John McCain, not Donald Trump. Not one of those people ever stood up and said, look, man, we're doubling the national debt. Like, we've got to make some changes, and these are going to be uncomfortable changes. Not a single one of them. They just kept hyping it up like, oh, we'll get out of it. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Next thing you know, we're $20 trillion in debt. Not one of those people ever addressed the fact that every time a politician makes more money available for higher education, the schools themselves just raise their rates so that they can get more of that money. Like moochers. These are people, by the way, who continually indoctrinate our children to believe in socialism. And they're just getting richer and richer and richer. That's got to be, like, it must be hilarious to go over to a philosophy professor's house for dinner, right? Because those people are all, liberal arts professors, they're tenured, and they all teach socialism and Marxism. It's like, it must be hilarious to go over to their house. They must just have a laugh riot, like, oh yeah, man, I teach these kids this failed system, and I do it right in front of them, and I take all this money. These kids are getting tens of thousands and sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and that money all comes to me. I'm living fat, man, while teaching socialism. That must be just hilarious. What was the point of all that? None of those politicians have ever pointed that out. They're all together. They're all friends, and right now they're all huddled around John McCain, who did them one last huge favor. He said, I don't want That Donald Trump, he is forbidden to come to my funeral. I say good. Thank God John McCain was so insane at the end that that's what he chose to do. That was his dying declaration, is I don't want Donald Trump at my funeral. Because now it is clear. There is no more argument. It is clear now that Donald J. Trump is not one of them. He's not one of them. Thank God. Right? The Clintons were there. Oh, God, man. Did you see Bill Clinton just staring down Ariana Grande and that pastor just grabbing her tits on a platform where there's an altar and there's a what's the thing where you put the Bible, the stand, whatever. He's up there grabbing Ariana Grande's tits, and you can see her physically trying to get away from him. I'm no fan of Ariana Grande, right? Like, she's just a young kid who says really stupid things. But ultimately, that's what I think about her. I think that she's a young kid. It doesn't, remember when that concert that she had in London that was bombed and all those people died? And she came out and she was saying some very horrible things about America. It's like, yeah, that's offensive. But ultimately, I just look at that. It's like, yeah, but she's a kid. Who's listening to what she's saying? She's a kid. Of course she says dumb things. Did you not say dumb things when you were a kid? I sure did. She's a kid. Who gives a shit? But when she's up on stage and this supposed holy man is standing there grabbing her tits and trying to get his hand closer to her tits, and Bill Clinton is sitting right behind her, staring at her ass, just smiling away, watching what's happening, going, yeah, grab those tits. That's who those people are. They're politicians. They've made their way into the clergy. There is nowhere you can go that demons are not infested. You know what I mean? That's demonic. That video footage that we have of that minister, preacher, reverend, whatever he is, trying to goose Ariana Grande, that's demonic. That's demonic. He's up there on stage in a church knowing that everybody's filming it. I've made this observation before, the demons are running around out in plain sight nowadays. It's not really a problem. Actually, I'm kind of glad that that's happening because now you can see it. You say, oh, Pete, what do you mean demons? Okay, well, let me break this down for you. This guy goes around saying that he is an emissary for the Lord Jesus Christ. Christianity is easily the greatest thing that ever happened to humanity. It ended slavery, right? All of the good things that we have in this life, it all came out of Christian nations, right? Like, Christianity is like the number one thing that turned the tide of humanity for the better. If you don't believe me, just go back through your history books and have a good, strong look at what humanity looked like, before Christianity came into their civilization. So here's this man saying that he represents the guy, right? The Prince of Peace. And he's up there trying to grab Ariana Grande's titties. You can see it for yourself. When I talk about demons and demonic behavior and that sort of thing, that's it. That's it. That's a demon. That's what a demon does. That's what a demon looks like. And doing it knowing full well that everybody's recording it with high definition video cameras and digital recorders and broadcasting it. He doesn't give a shit. He's like, I'm just going to grab this girl's titties. She's young and pretty, and her tits are still firm. And I'm up on a stage that is known to be a place where we only speak the word of God. That's where I have chosen to grab this girl's breasts. That's demonic. See what I'm saying? And who are the people around him? Oh, it's Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and his ugly wife, Laura. His demonic wife, Laura, who looks like one of those demons from The Devil's Advocate, right? With that stretched face. Then there's Michelle Obama, who very well could be a man. And then there's Barack Obama, whose scandals, like, this is another thing. Like, every president has their scandals, but man, Barack Obama had scandals that dead people were involved, like the Fast and Furious. Oh yeah, where they took those guns that were already locked up and ready for disposal, right? They were behind lock and key, and they were slated for destruction. They were going to destroy these weapons, and yet somehow they got sold to a Mexican drug cartel, who then used them to kill American citizens. That's one of the Barack Obama scandals. Sending millions of dollars, billions of dollars to a terrorist state, Iran. Those are his scandals. Well, he's there. He's there hanging out with John McCain. He's one of them. He's one of them. That preacher, he's one of them. Right? I hate to get into that us versus them mentality, but there is a them. Just like I said, like in high school, right? Everybody's walking down the hall. There's 5 dudes and they're all wearing Letterman's jackets. Okay, those are those people. Those people all have something in common. They have a common purpose. They have a common belief. They all work together. They all have a singular leader. Right? Those are them. You see the goth kids. Well, those are them. You see the kids with the long hair and the denim jackets with the Slayer and the Metallica, patches tied in. Okay, those are the stoners. Those are the rockers. Then, class is over and you start walking off of campus and you see, a bunch of kids sitting, standing around a bunch of muscle cars with the hoods up and they're all looking inside each other's hoods. It's like, all right, those are the gearheads. Those are them. Those are those people. We look at McCain's funeral procession. I guess, is that the right word? We look at that. It's like, okay, those are those people. And guess who isn't there? One Donald J. Trump. Trump is clearly not one of them. Praise Jesus. This is what we've been waiting for. It was never going to be easy. This transition was never going to be easy, and it's far from over. But now we know that Donald Trump is clearly not one of them. Right? He's one of us. He's one of the people. Now, obviously, I did not go to Billy Graham's funeral. I sure would have liked to have. Right? Who did go to Billy Graham's funeral? It was Donald Trump. Right? Not Jimmy Carter. Barack Hussein Obama. By the way, you should look into the meanings of those words and what Barack means, what Hussein means, and what Obama means. And then ask yourself, like, why did this guy feel the need to change his name? And if he felt the need to change his name, why did he choose that name? There is some very sinister things going on in the world right now. And you need to be on your guard, and you need to know who you are. And you need to know who they are. And you need to know the separation of the two. Right? That's it today. Just a short podcast. It's Monday. I know most of you don't have to go to work today, so enjoy your day. Right? And put something on the barbecue for me. I will be home as soon as I possibly can. I've got a kid to be born here in about 2 months, so I figure that puts me no less than 8 months out. And if you want to continue, hey, listen, today's Patreon day. Thank you to all the Patreon supporters. I appreciate you. I got a notice from Patreon saying, oh, we changed something and it might be confusing for your donors. Listen, if you got weird emails about Patreon, I don't know what they changed. Most of the money came through whatever. But if you have any questions about the differences in Patreon now, I don't exactly understand what the email was about from Patreon. But if it looks weird to you, don't worry. Just write me, and I'll send you what Patreon sent me You can read it for yourself. But it just looks like they changed the wording on something. Anyways, if you want to support the show, I would appreciate it. I have expenses. I want to come back to the United States really, really bad. This part of the world is getting more and more dangerous, and I want to get out of here. Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you for writing to other people to bring them on to the show. That's also very important. There's a lot of people I want to talk to. If you want to help out with that, send me an email, and I will give you names of people that I would like to have on the show, and you can join the campaign. Be my producer. Help produce this show with good, solid guests. In fact, I want to have... guy's name is Brian Kaplan. He's a professor of economics, and he wrote a book about the student loan scandals. I want to talk to him about that because that is actually something I'm very well versed on, and I would love to hear his thoughts on just what a big scam this is and how it is that nobody's called it out yet. There's some other guys too. But anyways, back to supporting the show. If you want to support the show and give me some money, go on to archadvocate.com, arch-advocate.com. You can send money on PayPal. If you want to become a monthly donor, kick in a couple of bucks a month. That would be great. It's the Patreon. It's all there on arch-advocate.com. And yeah, that's it. I will talk to you tomorrow, being Tuesday. Later.